entirely.
Me too.
But we'll see where that goes.
Mine's a quick one. It's really similar to what you just said. I'll just put one of my cute little terms on it. There's some good shit in the old Bright Archives, people. Narrative whiplash, one of the earlier articles I wrote. Still one of the terms I use most often. It's pretty much what we've laid out in many different segments. And as an example, let's just look at this. Behind the curtain, Mad Media versus Beat Up Biden. We've all seen the last 2 weeks the media turn on Biden. We've got the media telling us here, Americans make it clear they want Biden out. So now they're going so far, this is from today, they're going so far as to tell us with the very real and definitely not at all fake polls that they use to manipulate election results that even those sacred polls are saying that Biden is not the guy. But do we actually think that, well, here's where the narrative whiplash comes in. They're going to have to reverse all of these narratives. And the whiplash isn't about the narrative itself. It's about the narrative tellers, the narrative setters. One more here as an example is, this is from a mainstream media outlet. Biden's allies are pushing old stories about Trump's connections with Jeffrey Epstein. This article goes on to debunk the media reporting about Trump and Epstein. But the reason I bring it up is just a couple examples of macro narratives. You've got Biden is a bad president, Biden is a good president. You've got Jeffrey Epstein isn't a real thing. Then, okay, it's an isolated thing. Okay, there were some elites involved with it. Okay, there weren't any Dems. Donald Trump was involved with it. Now, Donald Trump wasn't involved with it. This recalls another piece I wrote last year, Overton's Goalpost. Overton's Goalpost describes a process in which you are recognizing narrative retreat by the media establishment along previously held psychological ground. This is where you have to train yourself to take the wins. Because even though you're looking at headlines like this and going, this is annoying. These are the same people who were telling me Biden was good. This is annoying. They're not talking about the truth about Epstein. They're just debunking some of their own older lies that are no longer in style. You've got to recognize that. I mean, if you're a battlefield commander and you're looking out across the field and the enemy is retreating, do you turn to the general and say, this is annoying that we haven't even won yet? All they've done is retreated to the next trench and then the one after that and the one after that. And I think it narrative whiplash and Overton's Goalposts, all these kinds of patterns, they help you see the process of winning. That's why we always say it seems very slow until it's all at once. The enemy retreats and retreats and retreats, and then all of a sudden they're not on the battlefield at all. And I think we are inevitably seeing that. We're seeing them devour themselves. We're seeing them retreat. And that narrative whiplash is absolutely assaulting more and more normie minds or former lefty minds every day and bringing them over to us. Every one of us in this community has a story about what kind of shattered it. What was a shatter point in your mind that started to get you to recognize the matrix all around you? And that process isn't ending. That process is going on constantly. The media is just accelerating it for us.
They are. And ironically, what you were talking about with like what got you to wake up, to me, it was finding out what they do to children.
Yep,
and that's why this whole I always laugh when they're trying to be like, oh, Epstein and Trump, they took a picture together and, he was at the club and even though, he never went to the island and he kicked them out of Mar-a-Lago in 2005 and had a big role in his first arrest and his second one. I'm okay with it because I'm like, hey, as long as y'all keep talking about Epstein, that's good with me because it means that you're focusing on a very big narrative that is going to be very important in the near future, which is to say, finding out what all these sick pedos do to children and how it controls our government via blackmail. So if Trump is the way that has to stay alive, then I'm fine with it.
Me too. Exactly. It's let them spread the narrative, let them spread the template, as you said earlier, and then the truth will out in that template. The bottom line is they did not want to be talking about Jeffrey Epstein several years ago. There's a reason they were never talking about him. And if you're wondering whether or not, if you find yourself reacting to headlines because they're not being honest about the subject or not totally honest about the subject, try to remind yourself of that. Take a step back and say, would this headline be here? Would they be talking about this subject if it wasn't for the truth community surfacing it in the collective mind? The answer is usually no, and that's why it's a good thing. That is it, though. We do have one boost came over here.
Yeah.
Beachbound 904 sent $25 over. I predicted before the very first episode that this would eventually be defected length. Luckily, I'm patient. Love you guys. Thanks for all you do. Not defected length, even though I'm sure we could do it. But